Ciao everyone, welcome back to the analysis of the songs of Sanremo Music Festival 2026. Today we are going to talk about my favorite song, which ranked 8th. I am devastated, flabbergasted. The first time I saw the ranking, I was like, no way, too low. Anyway, I am talking about Stella Stellina by Ermal Meta because, and some people might think, oh, because it's the political one, hipster situation. It's like, no, because this song has so many layers and such an attention to detail that it was objectively underestimated. Like, the attention put in this song, it is just objectively more than the majority of the other songs. So, like, whatever, we are going to see it. Anyway, so let's start from the title as usual. Stella Stellina, star, little star, because in Italian we have a suffix modifying the meaning of nouns, and specifically I am talking about ino, one, etto, accio. So all those suffixes telling you when something is big, is small, is pretty, or ugly. So all of these are called nomi alterati because they are being alterated by this suffix in their meaning. Stellina is the alterato of stella and it means little star. And already here there is some genius because Stella Stellina is not only the title of the song, it is also the title of a very famous, we could call it nursery rhyme. Some people call it lullaby. I would say is more like a nursery rhyme, but could be also considered a lullaby. And in fact, this is why the author picked it. Because yes, this is an explicit reference to Stella Stellina, the nursery rhyme. So we are going to also analyze this lullaby, this nursery rhyme, because it's very short. So I can show you why, like how close at least the start is. Now, let's talk about the meaning. What did Ermal Meta say when he got asked about the meaning of the song? He said, it's a timely song, so concerning the times we are living now. But it's also a song of hope, of resistance, despite everything. This song is about a little girl from the perspective of a stranger, a connational of the child, who feels as if she were his own, our own. And also, as I previewed, this is the second song we are analyzing who got the highest grade, because 3 songs among all the 30 songs of the festival got the highest grade from Lorenzo Coveri, scholar by Accademia della Crusca, which is 7.70, 80, whatever, almost 8. So, why this grade? Lorenzo Coveri says, Stella Stellina, star little star, la notte si avvicina. So this is the start of the nursery rhyme. The nursery rhyme. It begins like this, with a reduplication and a variation of the noun with a diminutive affective suffix. Because, of course, the diminutive suffix, it is also often used as to express affection. So, for example, it's like saying, questa è la mia sorellina, this is my little sister. Not only she is younger, smaller than me, but I'm also saying this with affection. Typical of popular and children's nursery rhymes. What is effectively a lullaby address, one sentence modestly, to a little girl from Gaza. Never explicitly named. And even in that case, this is on purpose. Our protagonist of the song does not have a name. Ermal Meta's, performing at the Ariston for the fourth time, is perhaps the only song, curated with the expert producers Dario Dardas Faini, on this year's competition that breaks away from the amorous existential bubble of the majority of the competing song. And, for example, this already, for me, had it deserve the top 5 because in a festival where everybody is talking about the same theme, a bit of innovation, something different, already deserve attention. And also it had everything it needed to deserve all the attention it deserved. Anyway, on such themes, the danger of sentimental blackmail is always lurking, but Ermal Meta almost always avoids it thanks to the delicateness of his imagery. The old-fashioned Italian rhymes punctuate a lullaby-like rhythm, and never mind if you hear echoes that are not new or unheard of the great singer-songwriter tradition, Fossati, Mercedes Sosa, De André. Because, also, this song, as we're going to see, is full of cultural references. So, not only to nowadays, so what is happening in geopolitical matters, but also culturally speaking concerning the history of song and song composition and lyrics composition. So, let's start by talking about the original. So I'm talking the nursery rhyme. The nursery rhyme says: Stella Stellina, la notte si avvicina, la fiamma traballa, la mucca nella stalla, la mucca e il vitello, la pecora e l'agnello, la chioccia coi pulcini, la mamma coi bambini. Ognuno ha la sua mamma e tutti fan la nanna. So what does it mean? Star, little star, the night is approaching. The flame flickers, the cow in the stable, the cow and the calf, the sheep and the lamb, the hen and her chicks, the mother with her children. Everyone has their mom and everyone goes to sleep. Now, this is considered a lullaby because it is explicitly talking about going to sleep. The mothers of the several animals are mentioned because, of course, here, like to give the child a sense of protection because the mom, of course. There are two things that I might point out concerning the vocabulary. Chioccia is a term that is not as common because generally when you want to talk about the hen, you would say gallina. Chioccia is a very specific term indicating the hen during the period in which she incubates the eggs or when has chicks. So it's not just a hen, it's a mom hen. In fact, all of these names are the name of the animal, the feminine, associated with the child. So the cub or like, I don't know how. Anyway, like we have, for example, the calf with the mom, the cow, the lamb and the sheep, the chicks and the hen mom. And then you have the child with the mother. And then fare la nanna is a childish way to say go to sleep because normally in Italian go to sleep is andare a dormire, to go to sleep. Fare la nanna is the childish way to say that and is like saying in English go night night, okay? So, remember, this is a lullaby for children. We are going to talk about this more later because in this case I have a lot of tea, so like a lot of notes to add on top. God bless Ermal Meta releasing interviews over interviews and like that guy can't stop talking, bless him, love him. So, first peculiarity, we do not start with a verse, we start with a chorus. Stella Stellina, la notte si avvicina. Same start. However, non basta una preghiera per non pensarci più. Star little star, the night is approaching. A prayer isn't enough to not think about it anymore. Dalla collina si attende primavera. ma non c'è quel che c'era, non ci sei più tu. From the hill we wait for spring, like spring is waited for. But what was there isn't there anymore. You are no longer there. And already we start a little bit with the core of the situation. So, the night is approaching. Here, not only is referencing the original one, in my opinion, it is also the night as in the end of everything, but not in a positive way. Like, as in, we are reaching the worst nightmare, the worst moment. So, the end of the genocide, but not as in they are going to stop, as in they are going to succeed killing everybody. And in fact, he is going to say, like he's saying, and in fact, a prayer is not enough to not think about it anymore. Because in Italy, just like you would say in English, thoughts and prayers, we have this thing where like, oh my God, what is happening is so bad. Thoughts and prayers. Anyway, so like, of course, just thinking about it, saying, oh my God, that's so bad, it's not enough anymore. Like, it's a serious matter, must be stopped sort of situation. It's not just by writing thoughts and prayers on Facebook that you're going to solve the situation. And the situation is quite urgent. So, from the hill, spring is waited for. We are waiting for spring, where spring generally symbolizing the start of a new cycle, the rebirth. So a positive element opposed to the night which is approaching. However, even if we are waiting for everything to stop and go back to peace and whatnot, the child is no more there. So the children, like even if we were to reach peace and go back to a peaceful situation, the children already died. So like in Italian you would say il danno è fatto. And then we have the first verse. Ho trovato la tua bambola, mi è sembrato di vederti ancora. Eri così piccola, la stringevi fino a sera. I found your doll. I felt like I saw you again. You were so small. You held her, the doll, until evening. È già passata un'eternità. It's been an eternity. O solamente un'ora, da quando nel cielo una nuvola risale dalla tua casa, dalla mia casa. It's been an eternity, or just an hour, since a cloud in the sky arises from your house, from my house. Because let's remember that we are seeing a situation, the memories, everything, from the point of view of a connational of the child, so person from Palestine. We do not know if this person is a woman or a man. It's not specified, is not important, because that point of view could be everybody's point of view. In fact, in the video, we actually see a woman who is a journalist, and we know that because she's wearing the sort of uniform on which is written press. So, like, that's why ho trovato la tua bambola, I found your doll, I felt like saw you again, you were so small. So, thinking about it, because ideally this person knew this child. And what is this also like finding the doll? I said that there are several references to literature and song in general. Specifically, finding a doll, a toy, something like that, it's something that we already find in Italian literature. Specifically make me think about the 10th of August, 10 agosto, by Giovanni Pascoli. Because in this poem, we have the same metaphor. And it came to mind because also Giovanni Pascoli describes a little bit the reverse, so the point of view of a child who lost the parent. But still, the poem is about loss. That's why I thought it could fit. At least the image is very similar to the one in the poem. And then we have da quando nel cielo una nuvola risale dalla tua casa, dalla mia casa. A delicate but tragic metaphor. The cloud rising from the house likely refers to the bombing or destruction or a fire, but generally as a consequence of war. Then we have the chorus again, which is exactly the same, and then we have the second verse. Ho cercato di strapparmi il cuore, perché senza non si muore, ma ho avuto paura nel mentre di non sentire più niente. I tried to tear out my heart, because without it you can't die. But in the meantime, I was afraid of not feeling anything anymore. Ho pensato anche di scappare da una terra che non ci vuole, ma non so dove andare, tra muri e mare, non posso restare. I even thought about running away from a land that doesn't want us, but I don't know where to go between walls and sea. I can't stay. So, this, I don't think I have to explain it unless you live under a rock, unless, like, if you live until now under a rock and you don't know what is happening in Palestine, that which has been happening for like 70 years, roughly. Got worse recently, but during the last 70 years it wasn't much better. So, of course, this is a description of the situation in which the people from Palestine are living in. And Lorenzo Coveri tried to find some references. The first one might be to Pane e Coraggio, a song by Ivano Fossati, where he says: ma soprattutto ci vuole coraggio a trascinare le nostre suole da una terra che ci odia ad un'altra che non ci vuole. But above all, it takes courage to drag our souls from a land that hates us to another who doesn't want us. Because this song is a very famous song about immigration. And this is also important if we think about the author, because Ermal Meta is not Italian. Ermal Meta emigrated from Albania to Italy as a teenager, often touches on the theme of not being wanted by a land. The mention of muri e mare, walls and sea, strongly evokes the Mediterranean migrant crisis and the barriers faced by those fleeing conflicts. But of course, mainly concerning Palestine, because they are being blocked by Israel, so they cannot leave Palestine. But also on the other side, they have the sea. So of course, they are literally blocked. Then we have once again the chorus, which is the same. Then we have a bridge leading from the chorus to a variation of the chorus. Fiori in un cortile con le pietre intorno, come le farfalle hai vissuto un giorno. Figlia di nessuno, melodia di un canto, quello della gente che ti ha amato tanto. Flowers in a courtyard surrounded by stones, like the butterflies you leave one day. Daughter of no one, melody of a song, that of the people who loved you so much. Come le farfalle hai vissuto un giorno. It is very similar to a verse, well, better to a couple of lines we find in a song by De André. Specifically, I'm talking about la canzone di Marinella, where De André says: e come tutte le più belle cose, vivesti solo un giorno come le rose. Here, it is not the butterfly, it is the roses. And in fact, it means, and like all the most beautiful things, you only lived one day, like roses. And then Lorenzo Coveri points out that probably Figlia di nessuno, melodia di un canto, quella della gente che ti ha amato tanto, could be a reference to Mercedes Sosa. Then we have the chorus again, but this time it is a variation of the chorus. O mia bambina, la notte è nera nera, la rabbia e la preghiera non basteranno più. Oh my little girl, the night is black, black. The anger and the prayer will no longer be enough. Dalla collina verrà una Dalla collina verrà una primavera, nel vento della sera ci sarai pure tu. From the hill a spring will come, in the evening wind. You'll be there too. Now, this chorus leads to another variation of the chorus, and in the meantime, in the middle, we have an instrumental bridge. And here we have a figure of speech we already found several times in Italian, which is called reduplication, where in Italian we repeat the word multiple times to intensify the meaning. So instead of black, black, it would be very black. So, once again, we have this idea of the night being black, so like the situation being at its worst. And we have the concept of anger and prayer, which are not going to be enough because his point is we need to act, we need to do something. Just talking about it and complaining about it and being like flabbergasted by it is not enough. This way, the spring will come, and in the end, in the wind, you'll be there too. Then we have again the chorus, which is basically the same as before, with a little change here. Stella Stellina, la notte si avvicina, non basta una preghiera per non pensarci più. Star little star, the night is approaching, a prayer isn't enough to not think about it anymore. Dalla collina verrà una primavera, nel vento della sera ci sarai pure tu. From the hill a spring will come, in the evening wind. You'll be there too. And then we end with an outro. Non ti ho dimenticato, aspetto il tuo ritorno. Come le farfalle, hai vissuto solo un giorno. I haven't forgotten you, I awaited your return. Like butterflies, you lived only one day. And again, here, of course, it is to highlight how unfair is the situation, because a child living only one day, possibly, or like this could be, of course, an hyperbole, but ideally is a child who didn't live enough as it should have. And despite all the effort of certain parties to make us forget about what is happening, here Ermal Meta says, I didn't forget, I haven't forgotten. I am waiting your return, so I am waiting for Israel and allies to stop invading the land and allowing you to come back to your home. And then again, it ends because that is the point, that is the thing that it should have happened. Come le farfalle hai vissuto solo un giorno, like butterflies, you lived only one day. Now, the song per se is not as long as you might have noticed. The lyrics are quite simple, quite direct, and the message is there. There isn't much to pontify, to imagine concerning that. It's clearly about Palestine, it's clearly the position of Ermal Meta. But there are some layers and some details that you might have missed. First of all, Ermal Meta is a father. He had a little child in 2024, and he adopted two children, two young girls. I'm not sure if from Palestine or Ukraine, but refugees, basically. One of the reasons why he decided to make this song is exactly because he felt like these children who are dying in Palestine are like his own. Little detail concerning his outfits during the Sanremo Music Festival 2026. He had names decorating his outfits. We didn't manage to catch them all. He, however, said that the protagonist of Stella Stellina is a little girl without a name, but perhaps she has all the names. Aisha, Amal, Laila, Nur, Hind. Who cares? Maybe nothing, maybe everything. Daughters of no one, daughters of everyone. So the point is that this child might not even had a name for how fast they died. Or maybe they had a name. So, like, he's referencing all the children who died at birth, so without even a name, and all the children who had a name and died. Specifically, he quotes Aisha, Amal, Laila, Nur, and Hind. Amal was clearly present on the collar, because one was on the sleeve and one was on the collar. I think the first night was on the collar of the shirt, and he started with Amal, which is very important because it means hope. Then on the second or third night he had Aisha, and then during the last night he had Hind. Probably there were other names decorating the outfits, but I didn't manage to see them. But just so you know, if you want to go and catch them all, you can go and analyze the outfits of Ermal Meta. Anyway, so I was explaining how the song was born, the general idea, but the exact moment, because he talked about it. So, how was the song born? Since Ermal Meta is often away due to his job, because he's a singer, he doesn't want his daughter to associate music to something negative, as in something taking the father away from her. To fix this, he often sings to his daughter while they spend time together. One day, he was singing the famous nursery rhyme, so Stella Stellina. At the same time, the images he saw on the social media of a little girl who died in Gaza came to mind, and so the song was born. And he put a lot of effort into create what he likes to call a dystopian song. What I would actually call it would be a paradox song, because it is built to confuse you from a certain point of view. I'll explain. We have elements that are paradoxical. The first one is the music. The music was specifically made to be very danceable. It is based on the rhythm you can find in certain songs from the zones around Palestine, so for example Maghreb, or the whole zone where Palestine is. But the lyrics makes you think. So he wanted to create this situation where you listen to the song, your body wants to dance because of the rhythm, but then you listen to the song and the song makes you think. You have a music which is very quite hyping, quite happy, with quite dark lyrics. So you froze because your brain is like, and your body are like, what do we do now? The other paradox is the lullaby. He said that for him, as I said, Stella Stellina could be seen as a nursery rhyme or a lullaby. He kept the lullaby usage because the whole point was to sing a lullaby. Now, what is the purpose of a lullaby? To put a child to sleep. But here he is singing a lullaby for a child who will never wake up because the child is dead. So again, we have this paradox. Concerning the music versus the lyrics, he said, I wanted to do it on purpose because I wanted to recreate that sensation that you might feel nowadays when staying on social media. He said it is dystopic, it is paradoxical that on a social media you can have one post showing you dead children in Palestine, and the next post it is nice suggestions on where to go on vacation. An ad of a very nice plate of pasta or a pizza. So, like, you have very mixed content. Also, like on the TV, he did the example from the TV, and it was a very good example. Like, he proved his point, because during the finale we had Sanremo, so like with the majority of the song about oh my god, I'm loving this person, oh my god, we broke up, oh my god, I miss my boyfriend and whatnot, with some songs which were very dense and surely are going to become the so-called tormentoni estivi. But also we had the attack happening in Iran and in Qatar, for example. And we were alternating the transmission of the Sanremo Music Festival with all its songs to the news, where the journalists were talking about the bombings. So this situation where really your brain gets confused, you feel frozen, because like what do I do? Do I want to feel happy to avoid like doom scrolling and be too depressed about something, and because I can do nothing, like anything about this thing? Or do I think about what is happening in the world because there is worrying, there is a problem and whatnot? So he wanted to recreate this state of confusion that we have nowadays, because we are bombarded with completely different and conflicting information all the time. And on social media, this is specifically evident, no? So, what else? Also, like a bit of tea, because this person is aching, like putting for a moment all the serious things on the side. Generally, we have some controversies happening during the Sanremo Music Festival. Concerning Ermal Meta, first of all, he's a foreigner, so but the thing is that he's been living here since he was a teenager. Of course, he's a great writer. He's an author. He also used to write very good songs for other singers. So, of course, he has a very level of Italian, like higher than many Italians. Like he is above average, because it is his job. And at certain point, Matteo Salvini, one of our politicians from the far right, so stupid, complimented him on the fact that he speaks very good Italian despite being a foreigner, and that this is the type of integration that he's aiming at with his politics. For all of you not knowing who Salvini is, long story short, he's a fucking clown. But it was so beautiful, because during one of the press conferences, he was told by one of the journalists, like, "Oh, so did you know that Salvini said to you?" And him, without losing a bit, calm as I don't know, the time in the morning, said, "Oh, thank you. Well, I'm sure because it is thanks to, it means that the education system in Italy works. We should invest more in it." Because the far right is very famous for keep cutting money from education. So already that was like chef kiss. Second, and even there, like it was top. At the end of Sanremo Music Festival, the day after, all the singers are invited to Domenica Inn, because the festival ends on a Saturday. Well, technically on Sunday, because we always end up finishing the evening of Saturday, so the finale in the first hours of Sunday, because the Sanremo Music Festival always ends up finishing around 2 a.m. for the finale. So like this year we've been like fast, I think. We were probably around, I don't remember if it was around 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. Anyway, so basically we finish in the first hours of Sunday, and then there is Domenica In. Domenica In literally means Sunday in, and it is a very famous show, which I don't watch, but it's quite famous. And all the participants go to the show, they get interviewed, they can perform live or in playback, they can be serious fuck around, and a group of around 10 journalists have the chance to ask some questions to each singer. And it is their moment to ask, to have a moment with the artist, and generally, for example, to the winner, oh my God, you won, what do you think about it? Question. Or like, of course, to everybody who was among the favorites, the classic question is, oh, you were amongst the favorites. How do you feel about the fact that you didn't win? So like it's not a good show. I wouldn't recommend watching it. But anyway, to Ermal Meta, for example, they're like, oh, everybody loved you so much, and yet you arrived 8th. What do you think about it? Aren't you mad that Sal da Vinci won instead? And of course, Ermal Meta, who is a king, said, no, actually, I know Sal da Vinci. He's a great person. I am so happy he won. He really deserves it because he is so genuine. Like, this man is so lovable and nice. What can I say? And then they were asking like stupid questions. That's like it's very common for the journalists in Italy to ask very fucking stupid questions. But at certain point, I was flying so high because, of course, Ermal Meta was expecting questions on his song. The journalist really didn't care at all. So it's funny because before being sent away, he presented his new album, and then he took the microphone and said, well, apparently I got criticized for the song I made because it bothers some people. And all the journalists were like, no, that's not true. We all love you so much and whatnot. And I love that he didn't give a flying fuck about what was happening. He grabbed the microphone, looked at the camera, was like, where is the camera? And the host was like, it's there. I was like, okay, there is the camera. You who felt uncomfortable listening to this song, good, because it means this song also talks about you. You should feel uncomfortable listening to a song talking about children being killed. And it was like, standing ovation for this man. So this deserved the fucking best lyrics award, and I'm not going to discuss that like this. Like, I'm going to die on this hill. I have many hills on which I could die, but this is definitely one of them. And I get it. I explain why. I understand the reason why Sal da Vinci won. I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting this song to win, like, but at least I was expecting it to be in top 5. Like, sort of situation with Gali when he brought Casa Mia, because at least Gali was in top 5. Like, being honest, I knew that even Gali wasn't going to win that year. But I was hoping at least the top 5 and the award for the best lyrics, because objectively this is, in my opinion, the best song, but objectively among the best songs, at least lyric wise. In my opinion, this is genius. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about Stella Stellina by Ermal Meta. I hope you enjoyed. Grazie everyone for watching, and arrivederci.